Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Ross and Wizzy's Fan Fiction Power Hour.
Wait, I thought it was called Ross and Wizzy's Fan Freaking-tastic Power Hour.
Oh no. Oh god. Oh, that makes me remember I was gonna do something. I was gonna have you do the intro for this one. Oh, thank heavens you didn't. Whew. Because that's not what it's called at all.
I feel like I'm getting Mandela affected.
Maybe I'm just gaslighting you. Who knows?
Guys, comment down below saying that I'm right so I can feel secure again.
He really needs it, so just lie for him this one time. Anyways, I'm Ross Pitt. This over here is Wizzy Puff. We both have P's in our last names. That is such a coincidence.
Yeah.
It's like it was meant to be, really.
I mean, the Wizzy part is more the surname for me, so.
Son of a fucker. Alright, whatever. So, today, we are going to be returning to the Celestia Code by iisaw. I figured out what it's pronounced, by the way. It's actually Roman numeral 2.
Is it supposed to be?
No, I don't know.
Okay, I thought you, saw their blog post or something, and they were like, well, there's a lot of people wondering, how do you pronounce your name, Esau? Well, it's not pronounced that way.
Yep, today we're going to be reading chapters 11 and 12 of this fanfiction that we stopped years ago at this point.
Please, it wasn't years yet, has it?
Years ago at this point.
Has it been? Multiple?
When was the last time we read it?
Oh boy.
Well, it's probably after May 2021, so it's been a year and some change. But yeah, today my voice is a little bit hoarse. Ask me why.
Oh, a little bit hoarse. I like it.
Oh, that's a good one, me. Thanks, me. Ask me why, Wizzy.
Why?
So my grandma was at the house, and my grandma and brother and sister and mother were all doing a puzzle, right? And they just couldn't figure it out. So I was there, either cheering them on or mocking them. I kind of flip-flop between those two. And so eventually I just started kind of reading off quotes, just inspirational quotes. And then that turned into Sesame Street quotes. And then that turned into me reading, somehow, William Shakespeare's Star Wars. And I got through the entire first act and some of the second act before they were able to finish the puzzle. And it's all just, if you don't know what it is, it's just Star Wars, but it's as if it was written by William Shakespeare. It's fantastic.
Is it rewritten, or do they have an AI do it? We're just replacing certain words. Okay, nice.
Yeah, it was a fun night. But yeah, they liked it. Apparently, they liked me reading it.
I would like you reading that,
which certainly helps with my confidence for this podcast. Let me tell you what.
I gotta say, though, I was worried when you started that, and you were like, my grandma's over, and she started going on this racist rant, and I had to scream back at her.
No, not my grandmother, no.
Yeah, I'm just worried that, people always get into screaming matches with their grandparents. So
not
your voice
me.
Was a little bit hoarse, or should I say
three of them are
ponied.
Dead now, so...
Aw, I'm sorry.
Well, it happens. The best one's alive.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah, but hey, fun fact about the Celestia Code. Pulling it back into there. It's got a 4.43 on Goodreads. If you're wondering, the classic Frankenstein by Mary Shelley only has 3.76.
Why? I'm sorry, I love
idea.
the Celestia Code, but Mary Shelley's Frankenstein is just classic art.
It's one of the best books of all time.
I've definitely not read most of it, but I've read enough.
And that's impressive because Wizzy hates reading, as we all know.
Yeah, I just pretend it's the podcast and I force myself to do it sometimes.
That's the best way to read, frankly. Get your children to read by doing that. Okay, but yeah, let's stop putting this off. It's been 6 minutes. God, Wizzy.
What the heck? How do we keep doing that?
I don't know. We should just have a shoot the shit podcast or like a side podcast where we go behind the scenes of Ross and Wizzy's fan fiction power hour, and that's where we talk about our day and stuff like that, you know?
Yeah, Ross and Wizzy's Power Hour Untucked.
That's a great idea. Let's do that. Okay, I'm actually going to read it now. The Celestia Code by Esau. Chapter 11. No Substitutes. Accept no substitutes. My bad. Okay, starting off great. Well, I said, looking west to where the sun neared the horizon. What happened in the last episode, by the way?
Oh, we need to recap them, don't we?
We should, yeah, cut out. Let's just honestly do that thing, that idea that I had back then, and let's instead replace that with the recap right now. So what happened?
Okay, so in the last chapter, they were going to a temple, and they solved this special fruit bowl puzzle, which let them get into this lower chamber where they believed there would be treasure. But when they were going there, suddenly Chrysalis's agents found them, and rather than attacking them, they said they would supervise their exploration of the temple. I don't remember what they found in the temple. Eventually, they started threatening Jigsaw, I believe, and Twilight didn't like that very much. So then she started threatening to do what she already did in the mountain to them. They didn't very much care. They were pretty suicidal. And now we're not sure if Jigsaw's been replaced with a changeling. That's about as much as I remember.
And yeah, I did a cool voice for this general character. Hopefully no other characters from any other chapters show up, because I don't know a single voice we did for them.
I remember there was one changeling that I did the Elmo voice for.
Oh yeah. Was it Chrysalis?
Nah, it wasn't Chrysalis. It was a random changeling.
Then
But
who
I think
voiced
any.
Chrysalis?
Oh my god, did I voice Chrysalis?
If that happens, let's just pause the episode and
go back and check.
Find it.
That shouldn't be too hard to do.
All right. Actually going into this now. Great job on that, Wizzy. Chapter 11. Accept no substitutes. Well, I said, looking west to where the sun neared the horizon. I think that's all we could accomplish today. General, will we have the pleasure of your company tomorrow? Please say no, please say no, please say no. The captain and I will remain in the city tonight. Worse than I had expected. I'm afraid we don't have much in the way of provisions. I don't even know what you eat besides... I left it unsaid, but we both knew what I was referring to. What else did changelings eat when they weren't sucking the love out of poor, deceived ponies? They're actually like koalas. Changelings. Oh. Fun fact.
They eat a lot of eucalyptus?
Yep.
Wow.
And something else that we're not going to get into. We sometimes enjoy flesh. She said the word with a hiss, as if she were imagining the taste. Ew. We don't have any of that to share, I said, striving to keep my revulsion from showing. She chuckled, low in her throat. No matter. We have our own provisions. Oh, I hadn't seen any saddlebags, and I was curious despite myself. The general nodded to where the 4 smaller changelings stood, waiting. They will nourish the captain and myself. What? I couldn't stop myself from reacting, and the instant I saw the general's lips twitch, I knew she had deliberately been probing me. I got hold of myself and said, as calmly as I could, I'm afraid that we ponies find cannibalism distasteful, so you will forgive me if Jigsaw and I return to the library to dine alone.
What? It's not cannibalism if she's just feeding off of their love. They brought two of them so they could be like lover ponies and they feed off of their romantic energy or something. I don't know.
Sounds hot.
Yeah.
The general actually laughed out loud at that. Oh, nothing so crude, princess. In fact, I think you will find this very interesting. It is something that I do not think any outsider has ever seen before. She certainly knew how to get my attention. She turned to face the drones and began to dance. No, really, that's the best way to describe her movements. Even though they weren't anything like any dance I'd seen before, two of the drones responded, moving and stepping in patterns that matched or complemented the general's. They moved nearer and nearer to each other until their horns were nearly touching. I felt something. Not like magic of any kind I knew, but definitely an energy of some sort. After
Oh boy.
a few moments, the general
She's
lifted
aroused.
her head. Oh, God.
It's a sexy dance.
You know, I like to be called mistress.
This whole story is just horny Twilight.
Not like magic of any kind I knew, but definitely an energy of some sort. After a few moments, the general lifted her head and stepped back. The drones sank to the ground, clearly exhausted. Ugh! The general sighed with satisfaction. The captain repeated the whole procedure with the remaining two drones while I observed closely and Jigsaw scribbled furiously in her notebook. Hey, Jigsaw, hope to hear you soon, buddy. Afterwards, the general dismissed the drones, and they flew off, fairly unsteadily, in the direction of the changeling hive. Thank you, General, I said. That was very interesting indeed. My pleasure, Princess. And now we can spend the evening together, getting to know one another better.
Ooh.
Sick rhymes, dog. Oh, goody. After dinner, we lay around the fire, going over our findings of the day. Oh, it's the footnotes! Footnotes! I forgot about these! I didn't forget about these. I actually just listened to the podcast, the podcast episodes before this, the Celestia Code ones. So I actually remembered. But let's pretend I didn't for a second.
I did not remember them.
You also listened to it.
I did, but I forgot about the footnotes. Like, I didn't hear them mentioned.
Wow. We went through like a whole thing on, what do we call these things again? We're like,
God.
These little numbers?
I remember that whole scene. I just don't remember hearing it when we were rewatching.
Wacky, man. After dinner, we lay around the fire going over our findings of the day. With the exception of the cornucopia building, of course. I soothed and coaxed the little books I had found back into some semblance of flexibility, while Jigsaw showed me her sketches and notes. Her drawings were really exceptional.
I'll go over them in ink when we get back to Canterlot,
she told me.
They'll look even better then.
May I ask why you are so interested in a failed civilization? The general asked. You don't think there is anything worth studying in the past? I replied. We have our traditions, she said. Stories of past victories, of tactics and tricks, and that have served well. Such things are worth remembering, but the ponies of this place were failures. They died out or fled. What can you learn from such as they? She's got a point.
Wait, where did the lisp go?
I don't know. I tried to add it back in halfway through that, and then it kind of fell apart.
Dang, you're losing your lisp? It's like the opposite problem most people have.
I think it's due to how much I'm moving my arm right now. I'm really trying to add more inflection into my voice, so I'm, moving a bit more while I'm doing this, which is a terrible idea because this chair is squeaky. But,
You're doing the voice acting thing where they express things even though no one can see it.
Exactly! I did it just there. I bit my lip for a moment. I had to force myself not to go into my standard tirade about the value of all knowledge. If we discover why they failed, it might help us avoid making similar mistakes. The general considered that for a moment. She motioned at the books in front of us. Well, that's stupid. You're stupid. Statues, old walls, and trash will tell you that?
I gotta say, sometimes I do just feel like giving up and like talking to people and just devolving into that. You're stupid. You don't matter.
Oh my gosh, I was at work today. I work, by the way, guys. And, like, you have no idea how much I wanted to do that on my final call. Oh, God, it was bad.
Okay, have you considered maybe you're just stupid? Maybe you're a little dum-dum? Instead of having tech support or someone respond to you like that, that'd be hilarious.
Wizzy's no help tech support.
Hey, it might be helpful to a lot of people. Some people need to hear that. I think there's a Jack Stauber animation that has some joke like that. Anyway.
I really clamped down on the anger that had risen in me when she pointed at the old books and said, trash. I took a deep breath and slowly let it out. Each piece alone might mean little, but together a larger picture can build up. It's a method that has been proven again and again. I see, the general said. But it still seems like a great deal of trouble to go through for such uncertain gain. Jigsaw jumped into the conversation.
Some of us enjoy the process for its own sake. Isn't there something you enjoy doing, just for the joy of doing it?
The general smiled. A few things, yeah. Though, perhaps you would not appreciate or understand them, as I do not understand your archaeology.
I would like to try to understand,
Jigsaw replied. She seemed to be having better luck at communicating with the general than I had, so I contented myself.
There's a goddamn fly that keeps buzzing by the microphone, and I don't know if it's picking it up.
I guess we'll see. Or hear. Hey, editor, if we can hear it, just boost that shit up to like 11, dude.
Make the perfect ending audio.
She seemed to be having better luck at communicating with the general than I had, so I contented myself with half listening to them talk as I opened one of the books. Oh man, that's like me with our podcast.
Background noise.
That's what I keep hearing about our podcast, actually. Just great background noise.
I want to believe that's a good thing.
I do too. I mean, what are they? Are they just gonna stare at a timeline for however long we do this podcast? It's usually like an hour, 50-something minutes.
And a lot, most good podcasts are good background noise,
Yeah. You know what? This podcast is fantastic.
Yeah.
Rate us 5 stars, everybody.
It's
and maybe someday we'll actually finish this story.
How many more chapters do we got? Are we even halfway through?
I think we might be halfway through after this one.
Beautiful.
Powerful. The smaller one, bound in red embossed canvas, turned out to be a fool's picture book. My spells had restored the colors of the illustrations somewhat, but they were still slightly faded. It was the story of a young colt who wanted to make a special gift for his mother on her birthday. He tried many different things, always failing in humorous ways, until he finally asked his grandmother for advice. That's when the racist propaganda started.
Actual racism?
Oh no. It was startling. The book had been so simple and pleasant until then, but wise old grandmare imparted the following wisdom into the little colt. Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to Twilight Sparkle's book podcast. I'm going to be reading this really old story. Hopefully it's not racist. Let's see.
How come we haven't done any racist stories on our podcast?
You know what? I don't know. We should try it sometime.
Yeah, let's look for the tag racism in the femfiction search thing.
It's gotta exist. We have to have done a racist one at some point. That's too popular genre. Like,
That's so messed up.
But is it wrong?
Wait, do you mean like racism as in like these stories have racist characters, or racism as in these stories are spreading racism?
No, just ones with racist characters. Though I would be very interested to read the others. The other side of that. Maybe not on the podcast, but I am
yeah,
curious.
we've definitely had ones where it's like racism as in like pony racism, but we've never done anything that's like legitimate racism. Like
Pony
maybe
racism, the objectively worst kind of racism.
how dare you discriminate against my I don't know, Shetland? I think that's kind of a horse.
Yeah, it's a kind of horse. All right, everybody. So today we're going to be reading this racist children's book. Unicorns do not make, my dear. The lesser races make, and we take. How can I do that, grandmother? I am so small and weak. With magic, size does not matter. Our wise leaders have given us the means to take all that we need. Come, and I will show you.
That must have been 0 to 100 for Twilight reading that.
The opposite page was a picture of the two of them walking through the city. I flipped to the next page, then hurriedly flipped right back. I looked up, but Jigsaw and the General were still deep in conversation and hadn't seen the cartoony but unmistakable picture of the interior of the cornucopia building. I needed to get rid of the changelings.
Ooh, now who's the racist one?
We both went for the racist crack. I set the book aside, yawned, and stretched. Oh, my. I'm pretty worn out from all the excitement today. I'm sure the rest of you are tired too. Shall we turn in? They all looked at me. Jigsaw with a puzzled expression.
Oh, that's so clever. Jigsaw with a puzzled expression.
Hey, and I was talking about puzzles at the beginning of this podcast.
Oh yeah, you were.
Huh, what a coincidence. It's almost like I planned it or something.
No, you didn't.
Everything has its place that it fits into. Puzzle.
You are not that good at planning.
Okay, so I'm not the most convincing actor in Equestria. I hurried on. General, I'm sure you won't take it amiss if I put up my shields as I usually do. I'll be using a double enclosure technique, which will take up quite a bit of room, so you may find it more comfortable outside? Yes, it was pretty lame, but I was improvising on the spur of the moment. Even if the General didn't believe me, I hoped she'd take the hint that the ponies needed some time alone. What I didn't expect was that Jigsaw would be the one to object.
You can set the shields to let me in, right? Because I'd kind of like to keep talking with the General for a while. Oh, Jigsaw, you idiot.
Jigsaw flicked the big bug a look and then stood up. Is Jigsaw flirting?
She's just going after every woman that she interacts with.
I ship Jigsaw and the General more than Jigsaw and Twilight.
No, I can't. The voices don't match.
Come on.
It would be too funny. Seeing the people with those voices in a relationship, it would be too comical.
Oh, what? So gay people can't be funny?
Gay people can be funny, just not together.
Wow.
Once gay people start dating, the comedy goes out the window.
You're right. Jigsaw flicked the big bug a look and then stood up.
We can go outside so we don't disturb you. Maybe walk around a little? Oh, that does sound like flirting.
I am shipping it. I was stunned. This was the pony that had been so terrified of the lone changeling that she'd wanted me to kill it. She was seriously proposing to take a casual stroll around the dark ruins with one of Chrysalis's chief thugs. I was speechless for a moment. And then...
I think she might be a changeling. I just remember that.
Yeah. Or she wants to kill them.
Oh god, she's just so confident now. After getting kidnapped, she has a grudge.
Why would you have a grudge after being kidnapped? That's ridiculous.
Right? Normally you're supposed to go into Stockholm Syndrome.
Yeah.
You're
maybe that's what's happening.
Oh god.
I don't... Do you really think that's a good idea? Jigsaw bit her lip and looked away for a moment.
I gotta say, the stuttering voice, not stuttering, but like the voice you're doing for Twilight worked really well with how they wrote that line.
Yeah. And really well with none of the other lines in this story.
Yes, I think so. They're not like us, Twilight, but they're not stupid. The General would have nothing to gain by harming me. You don't know that.
Before I could reply, the general stuck her own oar in. What she says is true. I would give my word, but we both know my word is worthless. I would betray any oath if to do so would gain advantage for my hive. If you're trying to reassure me, that's not helping, I said. Honesty is valued among ponies, is it not? She said as she rose from the floor.
I'll be fine, Twilight.
Jigsaw said.
We won't.
Wait. I got up and walked over to her, my horn glowing to life. Jigsaw shied away from me slightly.
Water.
Water. I could use some water right now. Give me 1 second, folks. Gulp, 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 gulp. I just waterboarded myself. Oops.
Okay.
You
put a cloth over your face before trying to take a drink of water?
I always put a cloth over my face before trying to take a drink of water.
Oh, no. Ross is kinky.
That's how my mother used to feed me water.
The Twilight character is Oh, God, what?
I'm joking. Okay, hush, I said, a bit sternly. Stand still. I need to touch you for this to work. Cliff note, or footnote, whatever. I didn't, of course. That was a lie for the general's benefit.
Oh.
I tapped her pole with the tip of my horn. There. Now I'll be able to tell where you are for the next few hours. I will also know if you become upset, afraid, or angry, and I'll be able to respond. I turned to the general. Have a nice walk. Twilight is kind of creepy.
It's a little bit, maybe talk to the person before just doing it. But it's also kind of reasonable.
Like, I get it, but I don't know. I settled back down and picked up my book, trying not to grind my teeth. Jigsaw stood where she was for a long moment and then walked away, the general following her. When they had gone, I looked up. The captain was laying about as far away from me as possible, while still being in the rotunda. I sighed. I might as well go through the rest of the charade. Captain? She flinched.
Yes, Your Highness?
Could you please move out into the hall? I'm going to set up the shields, and they will pretty much fill the room. She scrambled up and darted through the doorway. Out of the light of the fire, I could only see the eerie blue of her eyes in the darkness. I felt a little guilty for causing such fear in her, but I guess that was the point of my whole demonstration, wasn't it? I couldn't have it both ways. Twilight's learning to rule with fear.
Oh man, it's just like in A Hell of a Time.
Yes.
What was the one line where she's like, my protege is, what'd she call her?
My protege is a warmongering something.
There is something warmonger. It was funny. Go and watch that episode, everyone.
Go and listen to that episode, everybody.
No, I want them to watch that stupid bar fill up.
I shoved aside the growing fear that I was messing up the whole expedition somehow and began raising the shields. Precision work was even better than deep breathing exercises for calming me down. I wove in the exception, a matrix designed by my BBBFF, by the way, specifying a female unicorn, which might have been too particular, but it took more concentration, which was good for me right then. The second outer shield was
I need to know, what is a BBBFF?
Big Brother Best Friend Forever.
Oh, so it's friggin' Shining Armor?
That's the one.
Nice.
The second outer shield was more in the way of a responsive energy shield, with a few additions based on what I'd improvised the morning the changelings had surrounded us. In theory, It would allow me to create new spells even when under an abjuration. The fuck is an abjuration?
I'm only thinking of like adulation. Is that a word?
Abjuration. Solemn repudiation, abandonment, or renupinimicum are by upon oath.
Oh, so it's like an oath.
Yeah, kinda.
Okay.
So there you go, guys. I hate how the author does this.
They use thesaurus.
It just stops the entire podcast each time.
Like, if I was reading this on my own, that'd be fine, because I like kind of doing that, going off to the side and looking stuff up when I'm reading stories. But when we're in a podcast, you got to consider things like this, Esau.
Yeah. Esau, why don't you ever think of me?
And Esau releases the dumbed down version for the fanfiction power hour.
Gosh, can we release a version of the Bible for that? Like that? I was pretty sure I wouldn't use it, but it was good to get practice casting it, as I was sure I'd be experimenting with it when I could do so in more controlled circumstances. I rolled out the city map and put a couple stones on it to hold it open. I moved my saddlebags so that it was hidden from the hallway, where the captain was, and cast a simple linking spell. 2 marks appeared on the map, a horseshoe for Jigsaw, and an X for the general. They were in the street outside, moving slowly away from the library. I mentally traced a boundary of a few blocks radius. If they got further away out than that, I'd teleport out to check on them. With that done, I went back to the Fool's book. Yes, the illustration was definitely the interior of the cornucopia building. Yes, the illustration was definitely the interior of the cornucopia building. What's more, it was just as Jigsaw and I had found it. No magical horn, just an empty pedestal. I would have smacked my head into the book with angry embarrassment if it hadn't been so relatively fragile. Every time I made an unwarranted assumption, it came back to bite me. Because it was called a cornucopia, I had assumed it would be a curled ram's horn, like in the legends, but it had been named for what it did, not what it looked like. In the book, the Grandmare showed the colt how to use the device. She stood before it and held a strong mental image of what she wanted, in this case, a fresh apple. "May I have an apple, please?" she said, and one appeared on the pedestal. That was about what I expected. Magical synthesis. I got it eventually. That wasn't even a big boy word. I know that synthesis exists. I know what it's spelled like. Magical synthesis of food from hydrocarbons based on existing patterns was pretty impressive, but I knew it was perfectly possible in theory. Then, in the book, the colt tried asking for a necklace for his mother. I expected a series of comical, ugly results, looking like a young pony's bad drawings of a necklace, but again, my assumptions were way off the target. The colt got nothing on several attempts. Then his grandmother advised him to think of how much he loved his mother. Imagine how beautiful she would look wearing a fine necklace, and to try again. That time it worked. The last page was a drawing of the colt hugging his mother, who was wearing an exquisite, bejeweled choker. Yes, it was a child's book, simple and cartoony in its style, but the last page had been drawn with a great deal of care, and it was obvious that the jewelry was much more detailed than could be imagined by a young pony. Magic just didn't work that way. Without conscious guidance, an exact template was needed. Was the Fool's book an exaggeration, or was I missing something? All very possible, but the only way to find out for sure was to get my hooves on the cornucopia, and that wasn't going to happen as long as our changeling keepers were shadowing us. That thought made me glance at the map. Jigsaw and the general were only a street away, and no longer moving. I looked over at the hallway, and saw that the captain was lying in the doorway, alert but still and silent. I sighed. I could just whip up a hard shield around the city tomorrow, flinging out our unwanted guests so that we could get on with our investigations. I could, but there was a chance for something to come out of this situation. An understanding? Maybe an alliance? Whatever it might be, it would be worth a little, okay, a lot, frustration, even if just for the outside possibility. So much me.
Mm-hmm. This chapter has not been kind to my voice.
Nope. I appreciate that you're still here, Wizzy.
I'm not. I'm actually out of the house right now. I switched to my Bluetooth microphone.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm just picking up some stuff. You want anything from the store?
No.
Oh, okay.
I decided to look through the second book and found a ledger of debts and payments that were, oddly, enumerated in hours and grouped by item. I went through it looking for patterns, but found nothing immediately obvious. It had many names and cutie marks noted, and a couple of lines that were abruptly truncated with the words "debt forgiven," but nothing else of interest. I put the ledger aside and thought about brewing a small pot of tea. There was no way I was actually going to go to sleep until Jigsaw came back. I glanced at the map again. They hadn't moved. Well, maybe just a little. The horseshoe and the X were nearly overlapping. I squinted at the map thoughtfully. No signal had come from the tracer I had put on Jigsaw that would indicate she was fearful, but there was something there. Something not quite right. Oh boy. They're getting it on.
Oh, no.
I cursed myself for not specifying broader limits on the spell when I had cast it, but
I thought she was doing that just because she wanted to respect Jigsaw's privacy and was like, okay, only if you're actually in danger can I sense your feelings or something. But no, she just didn't have enough time or something, or overlooked it. It's like, no, I would have crossed that boundary if I had thought of it.
Damn it, Twilight. Still hope, by the way, that Jigsaw is the villain.
Then my voice gets changed for her being the villain style.
No, it's just got to be the same thing.
No, suddenly it's going to turn into a Louisiana businessman.
No.
Hello, I'm Villain Jigsaw.
Cute Jigsaw villain, though.
Just cute
I
little,
want it.
cute little Irish Jigsaw.
I want Jigsaw to go, I'm going to destroy this child's happiness. Whatever it is that villains do. I'm going to stab you in the eye, Twilight.
Before there was life, before there was anything, there was nothing. And before there was nothing, there were monsters. I will command a great and terrible I don't actually remember the rest of that speech from the Lich, but...
Oh, it's from the Lich.
Yep, it's from the Lich.
I cursed myself for not specifying broader limits on the spell when I had cast it, but I had only intended it for an alert, not general surveillance. I got up and walked through the shield. The captain leaped to her hooves and backed away from me. I almost winked out right there, but I reconsidered for a moment. If I suddenly popped into existence right next to the general without cause, she would know I was a lot more nervous and affected by the situation than I was comfortable revealing. They were only a street away. I could walk. I'm going out for a short while, Captain, I said to the cowering changeling.
I will accompany you, Your Highness,
She said. No need. I won't be long.
My orders.
Are stupid.
You can't use that word. That's a bad word.
Oops. I felt really sorry for her. Who knows what would happen to her if she disobeyed her orders. So, purely for selfless motive of helping her out of her quandary, I slapped a small gas-permeable shield around her. I've drunk a lot of tea tonight, and there are some things ponies prefer to do in private, Captain. I'll let you out when I come back. Please feel free to tell your superiors that you were prevented by me from following your orders to the letter. I trotted out the door to the street. I decided I would brew up a pot of tea to share with her when I got back.
You already drank a lot of tea. You need some more now?
ponies.
Man, they really love their tea in Britain and Equestria.
Mm-hmm. Maybe I could get her to relax a little. Did changelings drink tea? I knew that Chrysalis had when she was disguised as Cadence, but did they like it? Well, I could find out. I think that some changelings like tea, and some don't.
Some like coffee. Oh, I'd imagine it's like the crystal gems for them, you know?
Yeah.
They don't need it, but some of them like it.
Or maybe they're like people.
But people need it.
I disagree with that.
I don't know. I can't think of anyone who doesn't drink tea.
Mm-hmm. Not a single person? Really?
Not one.
Not one, eh?
Maybe two, but not one. Okay, maybe three.
Okay, anyways. I went around the block the long way, thinking I might just take a peek around the corner without letting Jigsaw and the General know I was there. If I was being a silly worrywart, I could just back off without disturbing them. I didn't want to derail what seemed to be the beginnings of a promising understanding between our species, after all. When I got around the corner, I accidentally read the end of this here, paragraph. Oh boy, howdy, Wizzy. This is something. Just you wait, Wizzy.
I don't want to read ahead.
When I got to the corner, I heard no conversation, but rather muffled noises that sounded very like some sort of struggle.
Okay, I'm sorry, but for the wide vocabulary, this one sentence here kind of is out of place. Where it looks like they meant to say muffled, and then that sounded very like, instead of very much like.
Yeah, that's kind of weird.
Like, I don't normally comment on this stuff that much, but this is iisaw, so my standards are higher.
Oh. In Grittian football, a muffed punt is defined as touching of the ball prior to possessing the ball.
Oh, my bad, that wasn't a typo. They were just talking about sports.
Sports. I brought up 3 offensive, offensive football. I brought up 3 offensive matrix patterns as I stepped around the corner and froze, my jaw dropping in shock. There, halfway down the block, was Jigsaw passionately kissing me.
What?
Jigsaw. Gross.
Jigsaw. Turns out this was all planned. Jigsaw asked the general to look like her, and then they made out. It's like the general really liked Jigsaw, but Jigsaw was like, I'll be with you if you transform into Twilight.
Which is gross.
Just absolutely disgusting. No, that really would be really gross if someone did that.
It's not okay.
It's like the whole deal with AI porn and whatnot.
Yeah, that's exactly my thought. And like,
but I'm assuming this is some villainous changeling shenanigans, so I'm not gonna judge Jigsaw.
You know, I hope that Jigsaw becomes a villain. You guys know me. We know each other. But like, you know, maybe not this way.
Turns out she didn't actually notice Twilight there, and she was just like trying to do weird villainous things while she wasn't around. It's like, I gotta get my bad out. I gotta get this urge to do wrong out.
Wasn't there a Young Justice episode that talked about this sort of thing, and it was like, no, that's bad.
Did they have one where it's like transforming into someone else?
I mean,
like doing stuff with them?
I don't know. There was something with Miss Martian where she was doing that sort of thing.
Oh, yeah, there was definitely like a lot of stuff with her body image and her transforming and whatnot, so sounds about right. But now we get to go to the next chapter of the Celestia Code.
57 minutes into the podcast.
And I get to read this one.
No, honey, no.
Okay.
This one is shorter, though. Hey, you know what? If you want to, that's fine. Just make sure that you do Twilight's voice perfectly.
No, I'm kidding. This is your episode.
All right. The Celestia Code, Chapter 12, Opening Up. I ducked around the corner and scrabbled backwards. It's scrabbled. Are you sure you don't mean scrambled?
No, she's playing Scrabble backwards.
Oh my gosh, have you played Scrabble backwards?
I played Scrabble upwards, but not backwards.
Yeah, me neither.
Is it a game?
How would I know? I don't play Scrabble.
I mean, I don't like Scrabble either, so we're on the same page.
Woo! Ooh, not like in Scrabble buddies. High five. That's my high five sound.
Oh my god, my hand's bleeding. Ross, you used to whip.
Oh my god. It's a good thing the thick dust on the ground muffled the sound of my hooves because I was not thinking about being stealthy right then. What was she doing? Okay, yes, I knew what Jigsaw was doing. That had been pretty darn obvious. But, she knew that insect wasn't me. How could she? I bumped tail first into the low ledge of a fountain and almost toppled into the dry bowl, making a ridiculous eep noise as I scrambled to keep my balance. Mind control? Was that it? It must be. I formed a teleport matrix, intending to wink in right next to the general and buck her ugly, pointed teeth down her throat before she could blink. And
someone's jealous.
And I felt the matrix break up because I hadn't properly formed the interstitial entry vortex. It was a fool's mistake. I just wasn't thinking properly. Not thinking properly, right. Mind control didn't really make any sense. Not with me still around. So how could the general feed off of Jigsaw if Jigsaw knew she wasn't the pony that she... Oh, Celestia. Loved? Why would the general need to feed off of Jigsaw anyway? How did she convince Jigsaw to... I felt bile rise in my throat. I stumbled and almost fell. Where was I? I had staggered blindly away from the fountain, and I must have turned a corner somewhere. I dropped to the street, driving a huge puff of dust into the air. I knew I had to do something, but what? I tried deep breathing to calm myself and began choking on the dust. Choke on up. My dust. The literal fallout of my actions. I'd turned Jigsaw down after letting things go on far too long. I'd explained the situation to her in my careful, oh-so-logical way, so everything should be fine, right? All better, no hard feelings, right? Of course not. Right. I
Oh my
spit
god,
out
so she's like, oh no, I was too attractive. She's just been ensnared for too long by my spell. Oh, I don't think there's any way to reverse it at this point. She's going to be in love with me. She's full of herself. Twilight's full of herself.
Honestly,
Oh.
I think the other chapters of this, I think she needs to be a bit more full of herself, if you ask me.
Are you kidding me? This has been like one of the least insecure Twilight fics we've read.
But it's still insecure Twilight.
Okay, maybe a little bit. But we're all insecure in some way, except for Celestia.
Well, of course, but what does she have to be insecure about? She's perfect. Wizzy?
Daybreak? What was the name?
Daybreaker?
Yeah, Daybreaker. That's the one thing.
What a perfect villain.
True.
I spit out the dust in my mouth, got up, and shook myself. I had to face it. Jigsaw hadn't been tricked or mind-controlled. Whatever she thought she was doing it willingly. I looked around until I got my bearings, and then plodded toward the library. I had no right to spy on her, and I would certainly be in the wrong to interfere. Twilight.
Are you kidding? She's kissing you, Twilight. You have every right to interfere.
I would be pissed. Or maybe I wouldn't be.
Imagine
I don't
you
know
just
how
like...
I would react.
Imagine you see me kissing you and it's just like out of nowhere.
I would go, damn. Wizzy got a fine looking kisser over there. Kissing
Like,
person.
I'd be so mad if we didn't look so good from a third person perspective. That'd be amazing. It's like we meet up in person one day and then you like go to the bathroom, you come back, and then suddenly I'm making out with you.
Would I even know it was me, though?
You would be able to recognize yourself.
But isn't there that thing where you can't recognize yourself? Because, like, anytime you actually see yourself, it's in a mirror?
I think that's a thing, but I don't know about not being able to recognize yourself. I think you could still recognize yourself. You recognize yourself in photos, right?
Oh, yeah, photos exist. Man, that theory is dumb.
I know that it's a thing that's like, if you use a camera on yourself and do something with a mirrored version, it looks off. But I know I've never taken a picture of myself and then thought, I look off. I've mainly just thought, damn, I look good.
Honestly, though, Wizzy is one of the most photogenic people I've ever met.
Aw, thank you.
You look dang fine.
Anytime that I'm like out and like doing some event, like hiking or something like that, then and someone wants to take a photo of me, I always try and get into some basic selfie pose. So there are photos of me just like doing the chunk in the deuce or doing the peace sign, or like, oh, you've seen the one of me on top of that rock where my feet are just like kicked back.
Sounds familiar. I've seen a few photos of you.
Yeah, so
Always in a plaid shirt.
not always. The one with my feet kicked back was not in the plaid shirt because I didn't get it yet.
I don't remember
shirt.
if I've seen that one.
I'm still wearing that same shirt that you're talking about.
To this very day.
Never taken it off.
Smells like shit. But don't worry. I wash it whenever I take a shower. Even if I have the slightest idea of what to do or say. Again, Twilight, point is, Twilight, you should really... It's not bad to interfere on this.
Better break this up. This is going too far.
I had another good shake before entering the building and then released the captain as I went by her. Do you drink tea? I asked her. I'm thinking of brewing another pot. She didn't reply, so I glanced back to see her crouching on the floor, eyes huge and staring. Just brilliant, Sparkle. Another notch in the old friendship scoreboard for sure. Sleep, with my heart pounding in my chest like Pinkie Pie with a new drum set? It wasn't likely. Study, then. The ledger must have something more I could glean from it, but I couldn't seem to focus on the figures. They all wavered and ran together into a blobby mess.
For a second, I was thinking, she's too distracted to sleep, but she can still study. But then I remembered it was Twilight, and it was like, oh yeah.
Sometime later, I felt them approaching the library, so I put my head down and pretended to sleep. Snore, snore, snore.
Honk-shoo, honk-shoo.
I'm pretty sure Twilight Fake sleeps exactly like that, actually. There were a few words exchanged between the captain and the general, too softly for me to make out. Otherwise, no one spoke. Jigsaw slipped through the shields and laid down on her bedroll. Ah, well, we know that she's definitely not a changeling now.
We don't know that. What if the original Jigsaw had died and when she was kidnapped by that changeling? And suddenly, this has just been a changeling since that one point.
But changelings can't get through the shield.
Oh, is that a thing?
Yeah.
Oh.
It was a very long time until my pretense became a reality. 4 new changeling drones arrived with the dawn. They crowded into the hall with the general and captain, waking me with the noise of their chitinous hooves clattering on the marble floor. Ugh, lunch that delivers itself. That's handy, I muttered, rubbing too little sleep from my eyes.
Sorry, Twilight? I didn't catch that.
I looked up to see a cup of tea hovering in front of me. I took it in my own magic and had a sip before I could trust myself to speak. Thank you, Jigsaw.
Do you want some oatmeal? I'm not hungry, but I'll make some for you if you want.
No, I'm not going to say it.
I don't know what you were going to say.
I was thinking of making a bad joke.
I'm going to say that's what she said, and it was going to be like, but that doesn't make any sense here.
We're going to say yes, that type of bad joke. I looked up. She wasn't looking very happy. That was odd, considering. No, thank you, I'm not hungry either.
Oh,
she said.
All right.
We drank our tea in silence. What are your plans for today, Princess? The general called from the hallway. I set my cup down very carefully. I stood up and dropped the shields. Let's speak outside, General. I made a short teleport out into the street and called back through the doorway. Now, if you please. The general emerged from the doorway with the captain close behind her. I popped the captain back inside and slapped a shield over the whole building. Smart. The general looked back at her subordinates, struggling to get out of the library, and then back at my expression. Ah, she nodded. I thought I heard something last night. I want you to know that Jigsaw and I whipped a loop of telekinetic force around her muzzle and cinched it tight. Her
She's
eyes
so jealous.
so jealous. Her eyes slitted down and she struggled, her horn flaring to life. I hit her with a disruptive blast that staggered her and made her horn flicker out. Then I pulled tighter on the loop, forcing her head down so that she had to look up at me. Don't. She stopped struggling, but her eyes blazed. What passed between you two is no concern of mine, and I don't wish to hear any more about it. I let her go. I offer my apologies, the general hissed, in accordance with my orders. Best non-apology I'd heard to date. Clearly, she hasn't seen many YouTuber apologies.
Aw, she just got it on YouTube.
I hope your orders allow for an early return to your hive, or you can buzz around outside the city if you like. I waved a dismissive hoof, just so long as you and your little swarm stay a long way away from here. The general drew herself up haughtily. We comprise a cluster, princess. Do I take this to mean that you are rejecting our queen's generous offer of diplomacy? I gritted my teeth. Why couldn't things ever be simple? Quite the contrary, General. We will be conducting some tests today that have the unfortunate side effect of causing changelings to explode. I'm just concerned for the safety of Her Majesty's subjects. You can return tomorrow, 2 hours after dawn. I see, she replied flatly. Will Jigsaw be here when we return?
Aww.
That blindsided me. What? Why wouldn't she be? The general shrugged. You are her monarch, and she has displeased you. I thought I couldn't get any angrier. I was wrong. We ponies are not like that, I hissed through my teeth. Ah, she blinked slowly. I am glad to hear it.
Oh, she's so into Jigsaw.
She is. Wait till they come back into the library and Jigsaw's making out with the captain.
Oh, God. Jigsaw's just like, oh, I'm sorry, but she looked so much like you, Twilight. Couldn't help myself.
Jigsaw's just a problem right now.
Yeah.
But she's Wizzy's problem.
Yeah.
I waved away the shield around the library. Take your cluster and get out. The general sketched a bow, never taking her eyes off of me. As you wished, your serene highness. She made it sound like a curse. They buzzed off into the sky and disappeared in the direction of the hive. I could sense the tracking spell on the general for a while longer, and it didn't seem like she intended to circle back. That was good, because casting and maintaining a shield over the entire city would be exhausting.
Twilight?
It was Jigsaw, standing in the street outside the library. She must have heard most, if not all, of our talk from the doorway. I collected myself before I turned to face her. Jigsaw, I've bought us a day without changeling spies, and we need to make the most of it. Grab your kit. We're going to the cornucopia. I teleported us both back to the library and began loading up my saddlebags. Get your stuff.
Twilight,
Jigsaw, I stomped my hoof. We will talk about it as much as you like, but later. The cornucopia's there. It was right under our muzzles, but we missed it. We've only got a day to figure it all out, and I've risked a breach with the changelings to get us that much time. So, we shouldn't waste any of it, okay? She nodded and put her things together. As she was settling her bags across her back, she said,
Please, Twilight, there's just one thing I need to know first.
Oh, sweet Celestia. Did I not want to open that door? But she looked serious. Yes?
Do you despise me for last night?
What? Damn, you saw through my brilliant, brilliant act.
No, it just makes me love you more. You're playing hard to get, aren't you, Jigsaw?
What? No, of course not. No, God, I don't. Jigsaw. I admire you for many, many reasons.
Oh, sorry.
Many, many reasons.
Go on, list them. But you were so angry with the general.
I almost used the mouth zipper on her.
Oh, jeez.
Later, I said, you know that one thing? Now, we need to get busy.
You know, she might have liked that mouth zipper, actually.
Oh my gosh.
I'm sorry.
You know I like being called mistress.
We're making a Jigsaw out to be a lot more promiscuous than it's actually writing her.
And this is absolutely affecting our views of her.
But only in a good way for me.
I teleported us directly to the cornucopia building. Is that how you say that word, cornucopia?
It's either that or cornucopia, but I believe both are correct.
First thing is to see if it's still working. I visualized one of Applejack's dead parents.
Oh, Jesus!
Oh shit, I read that wrong.
What story are you reading?
Sorry, I had another one just open. The Trial of Applejack.
Oh no.
Here it is. I visualized one of Applejack's best red delicious apples and said,
I'm sorry, but red delicious are bad apples.
"May I have an apple?" Nothing. I tried again, taking more time with my visualization, even imagining the smell of the apple. "May I have an apple?" Hey, get Jigsaw to ask for you, Twilight.
Oh no.
I'm sure it would work then.
May I have a sexy mistress? And then Twilight comes out.
You know, I like being called mistress. Still, nothing.
This
Well,
is the Mistress and Wizzy's fanfiction power hour.
yes. Well, the mechanism was over 1,000 years old. It wouldn't be surprising if it no longer operated. I got out the storybook and flipped to the last page and laughed. Yeah, maybe I laughed a little bit too much. I had a lot of tension to burn off.
Are you okay, Twilight?
Yeah, I'm fine, Jigsaw. I shook my head ruefully. I just forgot the magic word. I turned back to the pedestal and said, "May I have an apple, please?"
The magic word is please.
It's very cute. There was a brief flash and a soft pop, and a perfect red delicious apple appeared on the stone slab.
Woohoo!
Jigsaw cried Jigsaw, my bad.
Let me try.
Wait. I held up a hoof to stop her.
What is it?
That energy dissipation. It was an interstitial exit vortex.
In plain Equish, please.
That apple wasn't
Wait.
created. It was teleported from somewhere else.
Does Equish have two U's, or is that a typo?
I'm pretty sure it does, actually.
Why?
These are the questions that we'll never get answers to.
Wah, wah.
Teleported from somewhere else.
Wait, you mean...
Jigsaw was one bright mare. It only took her a few seconds to extrapolate the consequences.
They stole all their food? That would be hundreds of tons of produce a year.
Oh, you're one to talk Irish.
What's that supposed to mean?
Legitimately, I don't know.
They had the food stolen from them, Ross.
I was just trying to sound confident, and then I forgot that other people actually know history.
Thought I could just make up stuff, and then I remembered it wasn't My Little Pony and can just look up a history book.
My life, am I right?
Oh boy.
Oh.
Someone just shot a gun outside my house. This wouldn't be happening if I were Irish.
Not just their food. I passed her the storybook. I waited while she flipped through the pages. When she'd finished, she threw the book down on the floor.
What an adorable little thief.
she sneered.
That choker probably cost some poor artisan a big bag of bits for the metal and gems, and months to make. I'm glad these screwheads died out.
Jigsaw!
You talking about the unicorns?
Yeah.
Screwhead. Oh, sounds like a slur that I shouldn't be saying.
Well, you shouldn't be saying it, Wizzy, because are you a unicorn?
Yes. Oh, wait, hold on, this next line. Hey,
Mhm.
I'm a unicorn. I can use the S word if I want. I didn't notice that was right up ahead. Besides, I've never known a group so deserving.
Really? Not even the Nazis?
You know I'm one of those too, so I can use anti-Nazis. Oh, wait a minute, you...
I didn't feel much like arguing with her. But I'm just gonna say it. That wasn't that nice, Jigsaw.
That's true. That's true. She's getting edgy and she's using slurs and making out with her friends without their consent.
Ugh.
Something's wrong with Jigsaw.
I was prepared to be very impressed with their ability to create food, and now...
But you can do it, so why would you be impressed?
No, I shook my head. There are theoretical methods, but no pony's ever been able to actually accomplish it.
But I've seen you do it. Watercress sandwiches? Wait, are you trying to tell me you were stealing food?
No, I wasn't stealing it, I assured her. I localized the entry vortex to the rough area of Ponyville. I can't really get it more precise than that. So the only place that exact sort of sandwich can come from, with a target-specific teleport, is the kitchen of my castle there. Wait a second. She has her castle?
She's like, I localized it all to the United States, and then I just said watercress sandwiches, and I knew no one else would be eating that here, so the only possible place it would come from is my kitchen.
I don't like to do it very often because Chef Soupcon gets irritated when things disappear on her. She's sort of fussy that way.
Is that how you pronounce that?
Soupcon?
Khan? Is that how you pronounce the accented C?
You probably don't pronounce it like that. But
that's how we're pronouncing it.
Get ready if that character ever shows up. Soupcon. Just for fun. How about you say it, Wizzy?
Chef Soupcon.
Awesome. She's sort of fussy that way. Jigsaw smiled at that.
So, how wide of an entry vortex could you make? If that's the right terminology. To get enough food to sustain them. These ponies must have covered a big area.
It could be non-specific. Then the spell will just pull the desired item from the nearest source, saves energy. Jigsaw thought a bit more. I had my own ideas, but it was a pleasure to watch her rip through the possibilities. And it was entirely possible that she'd come up with something I hadn't thought of. She does seem to do that a lot.
She has a different perspective that's very valuable. If only she would, stop making some bad choices.
We all make bad choices in life.
Yeah, but eventually...
What I'm saying is that we're all worse than Hitler.
Maybe. What? All of us? Not Meryl Streep.
You don't know what Meryl Streep did.
Oh, Meryl. So...
she said, slowly.
If you can teleport things over that sort of distance, why did we walk all this way?
Well, it's a bit technical, but if I were to vastly oversimplify...
Please do.
Quantum uncertainty makes point-to-point transference less and less precise over really long distances. Trying to jump us to my castle would deliver us somewhere within a 2-league diameter sphere. Not very useful, and considering that half that sphere is underground, pretty darn dangerous. But with object-specific teleportation, this is easier to explain with math. How's your calculus?
Not up to the task, I expect. Can you give me the athletic scholarship version?
Well, within
Hey, I just realized she was calling athlete's dumb.
Ah, oh, that's rude. She
Yeah.
just gets worse and worse. Well, within a specified but intermediate area, the spell acquires all potential targets of the desired type when the twin transfer vortices. When the twin transfer vertices are activated, the entrance waveform collapses to the location of an actual object, usually the one in the lowest energy state, and it's linked to the exit vortex as a specific point. Easy to do on the easy to do on the receiving end because that's where the spellcaster is located.
Right.
Sorry, I grinned sheepishly. Maybe if I explain it, maybe if I explain about the relationship between physical objects and their plodonic ideal, which sets a limit on the...
No.
Jigsaw waved her hooves at me vigorously.
That's okay. I think I get how it works, if not exactly why. Long-range teleports to someplace not well known or difficult and dangerous, but it's possible to do from someplace if you don't want a specific object, just one of a general type. Is that right?
Well, it's not wrong. Perhaps if I explained it to you
No.
as if I was explaining
No.
non-consensual kissing.
No. Then you'd listen.
Well, it's not wrong, I admitted. Jigsaw nodded.
Close enough for me. So how much power does this take?
Rather a lot. Exponentially more by the distance, even without factoring in the uncertainty of the target. Another reason I don't do it very often. Jigsaw nodded.
So what powers this thing? It must have used a ridiculous amount of energy when it was feeding and furnishing the whole city.
That is a really good question. She beamed at me.
Thank you. And there's only one way we're going to figure out. And there's only one way we're going to find out, isn't there?
She clopped her forehooves together and rubbed them up and down.
Let's open this baby up.
Wow, Jigsaw, you can't just cut a baby in half. And then the king gives the baby to Twilight.
This is the wrong story.
Shit. Ah, god damn it. I had another tab open.
You're just reading 3 stories at once.
Jigsaw, I didn't quite like the gleam in her eyes. We should take some precautions.
Yo, she is gonna be a villain.
Precautions? Yep. I feel it. Oh, I feel it.
You can tell that foreshadow in the part where she didn't like the gleam in her eyes.
And then she doesn't become a villain, and I'm like, poopy, let's never read the sequel.
Yeah, it'll ruin it if she's not a villain at this point.
Yeah.
It's gonna be like Catra in She-Ra, except there's never gonna be any payoff. Of course we should,
she said as she pressed the bejeweled pair on the pedestal. There was a faint click. Wait, I cried.
Duck and cover, princess.
She said with what I'm going to classify as insane glee, as she firmly pressed the mosaic lemon.
I could have said that with a lot more insane glee.
Let's hear it.
Okay. Duck and cover, princess.
Round of applause, everybody. Round of applause. Beautiful. Roses. Roses.
I'm still not convinced that this isn't a changeling, I gotta say.
Honestly, I wasn't convinced at first, but now I'm kind of getting more convinced of that. I don't think it's changing, though. Also,
Probably.
Mosaic Lemon, every villain.
Hmm?
Every villain is lemon, otherwise known as evil.
You're right.
There
She
was
also
a
pressed a
second-
pair.
Oh, yeah. There was a second, much louder click, and then the rumble of ancient machinery coming to life. And that's the end of chapter 12.
That was a good one.
That was great. I loved that chapter. I can't, even if it was just us going, man, Jigsaw is a bad person. Well, more specifically me. You seem a bit more iffy.
Well, you gotta have some flaws for your character, and I think that they're giving Jigsaw some flaws that really flesh out her character. But if she's not confronted about this non-consensual kissing thing, then I'm just gonna assume that the writer didn't really think about it. Because it sort of seems like the writer may be like trying to brush past the fact that she had someone change into Twilight so that she could make out with them.
As Twilight said, they're gonna talk about it later, I assume. I don't think, right now, I'm not thinking that they're just brushing past it.
Yeah.
And that is to say, you better not be.
I'm just hoping that it's going to end up that they do admit that she was wrong for doing that, and not just that she feels bad for... I don't know. It seems like it's more like she's shocked that she was still in love with her, and not shocked that she would have someone change into her, I guess. Is sort of the vibe I was getting. But I have faith that Esau's gonna write it well.
Unfortunately, this was in 2013, where those types of questions weren't as discussed.
This
Not
was
as much, at least.
2013. God.
Yep.
Yeah, this is way before the AI porn fiascos.
Yeah.
Back when it was still just pasting people's faces onto random porn stars.
The best kind of porn. Anyways. So yeah. I can't wait. Hopefully we'll get back to this one probably a lot sooner than we did last time, because it's been a bit of a break.
Oh, we gotta get back to this soon.
Yeah.
Probably in at least a month.
Yeah. Four episodes.
Give us just 4 more episodes. We'll get back to you.
And I definitely don't think I'm going to be forgetting this one this time. So.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. All right, guys. Thank you all so much for listening. I have been Ross Pitt Shark Hunter. You can go find me on YouTube, Ross Pitt Shark Hunter. You can find me on Twitter at Ross Pitt Shark. Please don't, though. And this has been Wizzy. You can go find him.
In the dumpster.
In the dumpster. All right, everybody. Go down into the description and like this story. And also maybe give it a read if you want to as well. Because, like, judging by this episode, you probably would want to, given how long this is.
Yeah. But what do you call someone who's attracted to men and women?
I don't know, Wizzy.
Bye.
Recorderino.
He recorderino'd me. Can't believe I fell for it yet again.
You always fall for that one.
Damn it. I do. God, I'm an idiot.
Start spiraling over this random thing.